Hey everybody, this is Tiffany, and I am really curious to ask Alan and Guy and Steve where they are and what they were drinking just before we started recording. So I'm going to get you guys to introduce yourselves one at a time and also tell us a little bit about this interesting uh, environment that you find yourselves in.
Well, we're out in an outdoor bar, but we do intend to order food at some part. Alan has no, Alan hadn't started drinking. We've asked him not to stop drinking, but we're in Fort Worth, so we live quite a distance from each other, and so this we decided we just meet here. And you know me well enough to put up with me. We appreciate that. I'm
Very
Steve
cool.
Moses with Palisade Training Group. I'm a co-owner with these other two gentlemen. I am the director of training for Palisade Training Group. Been an instructor for about 26 years. Uh, my bona fides in regards to the class we're getting ready to teach is going to be as I have a background in executive protection, former law enforcement. I was on a special response team for 10 years, and I was also a shift lead on a mega church security team. Guy.
Hey, Guy Schnitzler here. I am a 27-year veteran in law enforcement, both at the local level and federal level now. I'm a law enforcement officer in the Department of Homeland Security and been there 18 years. Deal with the confined crowded spaces is my work environment in the aviation domain. So I'm currently the defensive tactics instructor for my field office, and also a firearms and mission tactics instructor.
Hey y'all, Allan McBee. I've got a background in executive protection and church security at a local Dallas-Fort Worth area mega church, where moving around amongst people while armed was a very important consideration, something we had to do.
And moment of personal privilege here, Alan also happens to be my favorite shotgun buddy. We took shotgun instructor together, and he kept me sane during the class and gave me lots of moral support. So thank you, Alan. All right, guys. It was always fun training with you. So at Tac-Con, you guys teased the topic that you're going to cover. You've got a live fire block that you're offering twice. It's called Armed Movement in Crowds. And you're first starting us out fresh out of the gate on Friday morning at 8 a.m. That's on Pistol Bay 2. And then you're going to reprise that class on Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about what's going to be happening in Armed Movement in Crowds.
Well, the class itself is titled Armed Movement in Crowds. It's primarily going to be directed at concealed carriers. Also, it's going to be relevant to law enforcement and security officers. We're going to talk about some of the problems that concealed carriers might face if they were forced to move through a crowd of people while armed, especially if it's necessary to get that gun out of the holster in order to protect yourself or protect others. There's lots of problems in terms of working in such an environment, not only with the chaos and all of the unknowns that we may be facing. We need to be able to move safely. We need to be able to work out of ready positions that allow us to manage that muzzle in the proper direction, contingent upon the circumstances then. And we need to know the basic principles of, hey, how do I avoid getting shot by other concealed carriers? How do I avoid getting shot by bad guys? How do I avoid getting shot by plainclothes or uniformed law enforcement officers? So we're going to cover those principles. We're going to show some ready positions. We're going to show how to get the gun in and out of the holster without muzzling others in a crowded environment. And then we're going to work some movement drills just so people get some firsthand experience on what this actually is like.
So very cool. Really quick, Alan, if you would indulge me for a minute. I know that there's recently been a lot of high profile criminal acts of violence in houses of worship. And as a result, churches and other worship centers have been upping security. And it seems anecdotally, what I see more often than not is they kind of gather up all of the people who have concealed carry permits and say, all right, you're the security team. How does that work for churches? Is that enough?
Well, that's an interesting issue. I supported the law in Texas, allowing LTC people to participate in church security ministries or volunteer security. But when we were doing it, you had to be a Texas Department of Public Safety licensed level 4 personal protection officer. And I think there are liability concerns both for the officer or for the security detail member and the church itself that are probably underappreciated. And training goes a long way. I mean, you're going to have no-shoots in an environment if something goes wrong in a house of worship. And so it's there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed and thought through carefully beforehand, just to avoid having a big mess on your hands. And that's one thing we're going to talk about is because, mobility is a good thing. Move in, move out, move over. Moving is good.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I'm really excited about when it comes to you guys' class. I think it's really easy for folks to say, oh, well, I don't need that because, I'm not a police officer and I won't have any occasion to draw my gun in a crowd. But, you can't dictate the circumstances. So I think it's a really interesting skill set. Pretty high level. Guy, would it be safe to say this probably isn't the class for the the very new shooter or the person who just recently got a handgun carry permit?
They need to have at least a basic level, pass LTC, preferably a class like we teach in our combative handgun, or a class with like hardware tactical guys, the first responders, something where they actually have some training with drawing and presenting the weapon from the holster, some shooting on the move. A good 1 or 2 day classes like that would help and will not overwhelm them, because we're going to be really having to watch. Part of the class is also teaching and how to move appropriately while minimizing violating the 4 cardinal safety rules. I mean, we talk about it a lot, but you go out to the range or you go to some training courses and you see the rules, particularly muzzling and trigger finger discipline, get violated all the times. And we got to pay attention to that and avoid it, because if you muzzle someone, you may get shot because they may not realize who you are or what you're doing. And so we want to avoid those. And we also want to avoid negligently shooting someone who doesn't need to be shot.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue. I'll take advantage of the opportunity to reinforce the Tac-Con rule, because in the training environment at Tac-Con, if you violate any of the universal safety rules, you will be very politely excused from the event. So with that, I will say welcome again, gentlemen. I am so glad to have you guys back presenting Armed Movement in Crowds. Folks, if you want to train with Allan and Guy and Steve, their class is Friday morning at 8 a.m. on Bay 2, and again on Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. on Bay 2. So guys, enjoy your lunch. Thanks for taking the time, and I will see you in Dallas.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Thanks, Tiffany. Great seeing you.